Good evening, hello and welcome. I'm Nayantara, working from home just the way you should also be. In this special news broadcast, we've got a very special guest for you. Joining me, Pawan Goenka from the Mahindra Group. We're getting Pawan Goenka digitally. He's also working from home because he just finished a meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Today, around 4:30 p.m., Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a video conference with the stalwarts of India Inc. Pawan Goenka was part of that meeting. Mr. Goenka, thank you so much for joining us. The meeting with Narendra Modi lasted, about 60 to 90 minutes. Members of India Inc. brainstorming, trying to figure out a vaccination for the Indian economy. How did it go? Was it, first of all, seamless? It was digital, of course.
Yes. Nayantara, first of all, my first day ever of working from home, and it's really not that big a problem. And the whole day has gone beautifully in terms of all the meetings that I had to do. Everything has happened with digital connectivity, and to top it all, to have a meeting with the Prime Minister of the country sitting at home is something that speaks a lot about technological innovation, the one that has. If you go back even 15 years or 10 years, you could have never thought about it. Coming to the meeting, it was a one-hour meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister and about perhaps 15 or so industry leaders across the country, across associations. And the Prime Minister, in fact, started off with that the government is fully aware of the task ahead of the challenges that we have. How we build confidence of the countrymen and the various actions that have been taken, and thank the nation for supporting his call for the 5 p.m. Janta curfew yesterday at 5 p.m. applauding all the heroes of the virus. Then several industry people talk about as to what their companies or associations are doing, and few things that they suggested on that can be done. So one of the biggest things that I missed when it concluded was that we talked about being 100% behind and being available and ready to make that to make the sacrifice if we have to, and then talked about.
Pawan Goenka, I've got you in a bad line. I want to interrupt while the producers try and fix that for you. Pawan Goenka, what I want to ask you also is, you said short of physically having tea with the Prime Minister, there were 15, 16 of you connected via video conferencing. I'm sure it was a very secure line. We'll talk about that, what app and technology you used so you could communicate with the Prime Minister. But I think what every Indian wants to know, what the business community wants to know, what all stakeholders of this economy wants to know is, when will Narendra Modi act with a vaccine for the Indian economy? This is a war that we are fighting on two fronts. On one end, it is, of course, the fight to have a good health system in place. You sent your best troops, your best battalions over there. But we can't afford to keep ignoring the economy. The biggest fatality of coronavirus going forward is going to be the economy. Did you get any insight on whether there's going to be a stimulus package? Is it going to be a series of stimulus packages? Is it going to be a good percentage of the GDP? Did you guys discuss all of that? What did you walk away feeling more confident that this is a Prime Minister who's also soon going to be taking decisive actions on the economy? Well, perils of live television and perils of live television while we are working from home. Pawan Goenka was just saying how he had a fantastic line with the Prime Minister. There were no glitches. It was absolutely seamless. Well, of course, I must have been on a secure line, a hotline or whatever it was. We don't really have access to that. And, mobile networks, of course, being completely flooded. So perils of live television, that connection with Pawan Goenka dropping. I'm sure we are reconnecting that. Pawan Goenka back with us. Pawan Goenka, you must have been on a secure connection with the Prime Minister, a hotline, and I'm sure it wasn't a regular Skype or a Zoom, but did you walk away after that meeting feeling more confident that this is a Prime Minister who is going to act decisively and soon on the economy? I think that's what a lot of stakeholders are worried about. Whether, our hearts going out to the daily wage laborers, look at the contractual laborers and workforce in factories, industrialists, employees, all stakeholders of economy want to know, when will Narendra Modi also act on the economy?
Okay. So see, we have to realize that this is not a task that only government has to do. The industry, the purpose of the meeting today was for the Prime Minister to get a feel for how the industry is thinking, and also what the industry is looking for, because he believes that industry knows the best as to how to perk up the economy again. And as I was saying earlier, that the industry is very concerned about the low-wage earners, the contract employees, and everybody committed that they will not be laying them off. And there were 3 or 4 things that have been suggested, which the Prime Minister in his conclusion said that he will definitely take a very hard look at every suggestion that has come. And if I was to put it in buckets, it did come out that we perhaps should be putting in abeyance our fiscal deficit target and allow maybe 1% more of fiscal deficit this year. It came out very clearly that liquidity is going to be the major concern for all businesses, and therefore the government should ensure that the banks have money to lend out. Government should ensure that 3 months of moratorium on EMIs. The government should ensure that all the payments that are due to the industry are being made. And really, this is something that came out in each and every person's talk on the liquidity part of it. Then there were things about payment moratorium that many people talked about. Ensuring that the IBC is suspended for a while, because many companies could fall into that situation right now. Healthcare industry, how they can ramp up the requirement that we have right now, again came out very, very, very strongly. And taking care of migrant labor. Then again, the question of the IT companies requiring a small percentage of people to work from office to keep the essential services going came up, and Prime Minister specifically acknowledged that yes, they will look at it, and he said that he has given directions to the states, and the states will be implementing that in the next day or two. The requirement of some essential industries, for example, even agriculture industry, where the agriculture implements have to be prepared in time for the peak season in May and June. For these to be available, came out. So basically, I think what the PM has done today is taken the pulse of the industry, which has assured its full support to the Prime Minister, and also to understand what is it that is on top of our mind. And I'm very sure that he will go back. In fact, many of his senior officers were there with him at that time. And he will go back, debate, and within a day or two, we should start seeing some things happening.
You're saying that as soon as maybe a day or two, you can start expecting some kind of relief for the economy?
That's what my expectation is, that the fact that the PM had such a meeting today with industry leaders, obviously he has done it so that he can understand what the industry is looking for and start implementing it. You have to understand that these things are not as easy to do, because the government also perhaps is suffering from not getting enough revenue in terms of tax collection. But by suggesting that we should have 1% higher fiscal deficit and not worry about that right now, is something that the government opens that up. That will certainly allow some more funds to be available. There were some suggestions that were very specific, some suggestions that were generic, but more or less, I think what everybody is saying is that make sure that the fund flow continues and make sure that the financing cycle continues.
You know, Pawan, going at a time like this with coronavirus being the black swan of 2020, you couldn't have prepared for it, and whatever you do, you will still be underprepared for it. You know, you raised this entire point of moratoriums. The RBI will also, of course, have to be on board for all of this. Cash is going to be king. And at the same time, you have to maintain and ensure there's cash flow in the system as well. It's a very tall task. I don't even know how it's going to be done. We've seen various sovereigns, various heads of states come out with measures, and it hasn't been as effective as they maybe thought that they would be. You know, what would you say on this front? Like, do you think it's reasonable to expect the RBI to be on board with, let's say, a loan moratorium, a loan repayment moratorium for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? And can our financial system take it?
Well, again, as you said, these are not usual times. It's not like a slowdown. When there's a slowdown, the world knows how to handle a slowdown. The cycle happens every 6-7 years, and you take certain measures. Here, you are fighting on two fronts. The front that is perhaps the most critical front is how do you stop the spread of coronavirus? And no matter what anybody wants or thinks, that has to take the top priority. Whether you're running a manufacturing unit, whether you're running an IT company, whether you're running a state, or whether you're running the country, you have to give the highest priority to ensure that coronavirus does not spread. And that's what the PM did first. The whole country is in a lockdown mode right now. The flights have stopped, the railway trains have stopped, manufacturing has stopped. The whole country is in a lockdown mode. And that's the most important thing. If we can ride through the next 10 to 12 days, without seeing a spread of the coronavirus, I think we would have won 3/4 of the battle. And then we need to focus on the economic agenda. I'm not saying don't think about it right now, but right now the focus has to be on stopping the spread of virus. On the economic agenda, as you said, that it has to be everybody coming on board. It cannot be the central government alone. It cannot be the RBI alone. It cannot be state governments alone. It cannot be industry alone. Everybody has to come together to fight this battle. And one should not be naive to think that the scars of this problem will go away in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It is going to take some time. Whether it's going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year, we don't know. Nobody knows right now. We have to be prepared for long haul, and we have to do everything that we can, especially to support people who have lesser means than others do. And therefore, bigger industries supporting smaller industries, people with better income supporting people with lower income, all of that becomes very necessary. So I don't think that we should be pointing finger at any specific person or group or function. We have to be in it together.
Oh, this is, I think, one time where across party lines, across corporates, across civil societies, borders, countries, we all have to unite. There is only one enemy, which is, of course, COVID-19. But Pawan Goenka, your boss and the big man at Mahindra Group, Anand Mahindra, yesterday took to Twitter to actually make a lot of announcements and encourage maybe other corporates to also follow suit. Where he wrote, our project teams stand ready to assist the government and army in erecting temporary care facilities. The Mahindra Foundation will create a fund to assist the hardest hit in our value chain, which is the small businesses as well as the self-employed. To help the response to this unprecedented threat, we at the Mahindra Group will immediately begin work on how our manufacturing facilities can make ventilators. At Mahindra Holidays, we stand ready to offer our resorts as temporary care facilities. Pawan Goenka, it's been more than 24 hours since this has been said. And when Anand Mahindra says it, he walks the talk. I know it's only about 24 hours old, but has any progress been made? And has the government, the army, the healthcare staff, the health departments, have they responded favorably to this offer?
So let me say that this is all he said yesterday, and he has immediately contacted senior people in the group and giving specific responsibility to different people. He has given me specific responsibility to look at the possibility of manufacturing of ventilators. And I have been talking, obviously we don't know how to make ventilators. What we have are manufacturing facilities. What we have, people who know manufacturing very well, but we don't know how to make ventilators. And in fact, I've been receiving many calls today from various people on helping us, working with us to see how we can ramp up production of ventilators. So these are things that we are offering to help. We are working on it. We'll succeed in some. We may not succeed in all, but we are putting it forward with the right intent, and we'll put our best foot forward to make it happen. If it doesn't happen, it's not because we didn't try hard enough. If it doesn't happen, because it was not meant to be. And if I was to talk about ventilators, for example, ventilator manufacturing is not a small task. And in fact, as you probably know, that world over right now, there's shortage of ventilators. So it's not even a question of putting in a crore of rupee and going somewhere and buying some ventilators. They're not available. And therefore, the only way we can do it is by manufacturing ourselves. For that, we are doing everything to understand very quickly how we can do it. In fact, this was one of the things that came up in the VC today also, where the PM talked about it and said that anything that the government needs to do in terms of regulations to allow private companies like Mahindra or Tata to make ventilators. He didn't say those specific words. Then we should contact the government right now and start doing those things. I got a call today from the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Heavy Industries asking me if there's anything that the MOHI can do. I got a call today from CMD of BHEL asking me how they can work with us to make ventilators. So basically, what this tweet has done is start that whole process of the manufacturing industry thinking, and that can they get into manufacturing things that is not their expertise, but since there's no manufacturing, can they come forward? And if you go back to like World War I and World War II, auto companies were stopping to make automobiles and making tanks for the World War. So it is similar to this. Rather than making tractors and automobiles, can we use part of our facilities to making ventilators? Again, I cannot tell you today that we'll succeed. We have to work on it. We will put our best foot forward and hope that we can make some progress in it. Similarly, other people are working on, for example, erecting temporary care facilities that he talked about, or the various things that he has mentioned in his thing. The different leaders of the group are working on those.
Yes, it's about rising to the occasion, everyone doing what they can. And it's very encouraging and inspiring to hear that the Mahindra Group is indeed rising to the occasion. Joining us also is Vikram Kirloskar. He's the president of CII. So I've got two very large corporates with me. Mr. Kirloskar, I think you were just on a video conference, which also included Pawan Goenka of Mahindra Group. I know Pawan Goenka has to go, so I'm going to make this my final question to him. Pawan Goenka, you talked about how there is an appeal that don't lay off employees, don't cut their salaries. You're, of course, a large employer. There are many corporates and conglomerates, large employers out there. There are also thousands and lakhs of employees who are very scared. Will they have a job next week? Will they have a job 3 months from now? Will they have a job a year from now? Will they be able to take home what they take home today because they're going to have to pay rent, EMIs, all of that? I know it's still early days, but is it also sustainable for businesses to not come out with the inevitable bad news? Or are we just postponing it?
This is to Pawan, no? Or to me?
Yes.
To me or
you
to Pawan?
You can also take it, Vikram Kirloskar.
I think I let Pawan finish. I wasn't sure.
Yes, take it. Pawan Goenka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, this Pawan, that's your question, Pawan.
That was my question. Okay, so what I want to say is that all the corporates that were there today have made a commitment that they do not intend to do any layoffs or retrenchments. And the question that you have is, can it go on forever? Okay, it cannot go on forever. I mean, one cannot say that if it is a 2-year problem, it will go on. But let's not think about it being a 2-year program. Let's think about problem. Let's think about it being a 1-month problem right now, and let's take 1 month at a time. I think right now, nobody can do a long-term planning. Every day is a new day. What I said yesterday is not valid today, and what I'll say today is not valid tomorrow, because every day is changing. And therefore, let's take it one at a time. And I think if you were to look at next 4 weeks, I don't think any large corporate is thinking of retrenching people or cutting salaries of low-income people. There are many corporates coming forward cutting salaries of high income or senior people, but not of low-income people. And at least I can say that industry is prepared to retrench anybody for, let's say, next 4 weeks. And then we will then let's talk about it at that time. It depends on many other factors that happens. If factories open up, some revenue start coming in, or there's no revenue. So I don't want to make a blanket statement, but I would say that for the next 4 weeks, I think we can be pretty confident that no responsible corporate will lay off daily wage workers or contract workers. Take your leave and let my friend Vikram take it from here.
Yes, thank you. It's on to Vikram Kirloskar now to take it forward. Vikram Kirloskar, Pawan Goenka told us about how it was literally surreal to be connected on video conference with the Prime Minister, short of having tea. It was completely seamless. Everybody got to talk. There were, of course, no call drops. Do you want to tell us how you all were connected? Was it Zoom, Skype, or some special technology?
Some special technology, I think. No, we used the server in the PM's office. So I think it was a pretty secure line. And it was very seamless. It was very clear. And it felt almost like I was talking right to him.
That's exactly what Pawan Goenka said. There was short of just having tea physically with the Prime Minister. Vikram Kirloskar, ahead of today's video conference with the Prime Minister, we of course saw CII come out with a whole host of suggestions, for example, which also included a fiscal stimulus package amounting to about 2% of India's GDP. Can you, before we get into the specifics, can you share with our viewers and all of us how the meeting was? Was it collaborative? Did you all speak one by one? Was the Prime Minister in listening mode only? Can you give us an idea what it was like? I think all stakeholders of the economy want to know when will there be a vaccine for the coronavirus on the economic front?
I think Prime Minister is very clear that this is a very dangerous virus. I mean, it is not something you can say, here's the medicine and it'll stop. It is something which is going to spread very easily. It can run out of control very easily. And unless we are on our toes, it will happen. So again, he re-emphasized on being on a behavior change. And he says we have to work, if we have to get out of this again, we have to work by trusting each other. I think one of the key messages I got in his opening stance was on mutual trust. It's only through trusting each other that each one of us is involved in trying to get out of this situation, whether it's health, etc. That's the only way he'll get out. So he wanted that. He also said the economy is very important, because if we can't sort out the economy, eventually we'll have trouble. How do we take care of all our population? I think that is also very clear. So his points were very, very clear. I think our meeting was was a cooperative meeting, I would say, where industry wanted to cooperate with the government, wanted to cooperate with society, also build trust with the government and trust with society. I think that's the, if I can sum up the meeting, that would be the way I would put it.
Pawan Goenka has taken through some of the big ideas that were discussed with the Prime Minister. First of all, that forget about fiscal deficit targets. It's okay if you breach it by even 1%. Get more liquidity, postpone IBC, have moratoriums in place even when it comes for banks and all of that. Vikram Kirloskar, I asked Pawan Goenka one question. I'm going to ask you because I'm also trying to get a sense of what it was like, because all stakeholders of the economy want to know about this. When do you think Narendra Modi and the government will respond with some kind of a stimulus package for the economy? Is it a matter of days? Is it about a matter of weeks? Do you think they're planning to hit some milestone when it comes to number of cases? What are they waiting for?
I think they will come with a very good stimulus for the economy. I think they'll study it. But if I was the Prime Minister, I would be always sitting in, there's one question I'd always have. if we give a very big stimulus right now, also, it should have its effect fully, and the country should start moving up as well. That means if we give a big stimulus and spend money now, and the virus also doesn't come down but keeps increasing, then the economic stimulus may not have the effect that you want. I'm sure that is going in his mind. That's what's going on in my mind when I ask for question. When I ask the Prime Minister, we've given a big list from CII, including direct benefits to various people. We've given a big list. We are saying even go up to 2% of GDP if required, spend the money. So to my mind, first thing is how do we flatten the curve on the virus? I think that is most important. I sincerely request the media to keep pushing that idea with the public. Please be sensible, responsible, have trust, and look after all the people around you, and try to get no spread of virus. Unless we stop that, none of the economic stimuli, which I'm sure the PM is considering and will come up with some good packages, they will not work the way they should. We shouldn't waste the economic stimulus either. We must do the economic stimulus, make it very clear how to get back on our feet, but don't make economic stimulus okay ho jayega, and we are not putting our efforts in stopping the virus also.
No, but tell me something. If your production facilities are going to shut down, consumerism has come to a halt because of a lockdown, as it absolutely must. What can industry do? What have you promised, or what is it that is feasible and reasonable to ask industry?
Well, right now the simple things, like the obvious things, are things like loan moratoriums and items of that nature. Okay, where when you shut down and the cash flow stops and cash generation stops, it's impossible to pay back anything. Okay, so I think those areas are very clear. Industry is one situation. Industry has large industry is one situation, but please think of the people like the travel industry or the restaurants, okay, which are closed overnight. They don't have the kind of resources to keep their people busy or pay their people. It's very, very hard. How do you keep that part of the economy moving? The whole tourism sector, all the hotels, these are huge employable thing. Okay, companies, maybe after 2 weeks, the curve stops, we will start up, we will get economic benefits, we'll get loan repayment dues changed, moratoriums, perhaps interest rates will come down, perhaps some other incentives will come on tax. But people like the restaurant business, how do we get those guys up and running? I think those are questions also they will go through. Representations have been made. So I think the flattening of the curve is the number one priority.
Flattening the curve has to be the biggest priority at the moment, but we just can't afford to keep forgetting the economy either. We've got a massive cushion from oil prices. We can't let the surging dollar take away that complete windfall gain that we stand to make. Today we saw the rupee, for example, cross past this 76 level. Vikram Kirloskar, hang in there. I'm going to be now joined, and you will also be staying tuned for that interview. It's with another participant who was part of the video conference with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Joining me now on the phone line is Ajay Piramal. Mr. Piramal, good evening. We've interviewed Dr. Pawan Goenka. You're going to be alongside Vikram Kirloskar, the CII president. So I'll ask you first for your reaction. We've heard there were 15 to 16 people part of the video conference. It was fantastic. It was just short of having tea with the Prime Minister. My other two guests, Pawan Goenka and Vikram Kirloskar, walked away convinced that this is a Prime Minister who's getting set to act in a matter of days when it comes to the economy. Did you feel the same way post the video conference?
I think the Prime Minister began by saying that we need to have Vishwas, or faith. And the first thing he said is faith for any economic activity. Building faith is most important. Faith between banks and companies, between owners and workers, between customers and those who are the people who are the debtors, suppliers and purchasers. So with that as a background, obviously he realizes that this faith has been built, and he said so, that it's built over many years of hard work. So how do we keep this faith on is important. And therefore I do feel that they will work on the economy. He has said so, that in the next few days we are going to see it. He recognized that there is a big challenge of the economy, big challenge for workers. I think what the Prime Minister was also happy that all the people who were spoke said that how they were also concerned to ensure that the livelihoods of people are not affected very severely. He also assured that all the essential services like pharmaceuticals will continue. And actually, I have to say that we have about 8 pharmaceutical plants in India across various states. Until now, the production has not been affected, and we are providing essential life-saving products. So they are going on that production, and there were some issues as far as the movement of goods is concerned, but he also said that that would be managed. Besides that, I think the main focus for everybody was to ensure that there's liquidity in the system, and some of the the regulators may have to relax some of the regulations today, whether it's in terms of the moratorium on loans, whether it's in terms of IBC, whether it's in terms of SEBI's guidelines on year ending and the company law matters. So a lot was discussed. Many other suggestions were done as far as the other social issues were concerned.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the biggest headline that we've got from 3 leading industrialists of this country doesn't get bigger than this. Pawan Goenka from Mahindra Group, the top boss of the Piramal Group, Ajay Piramal, CII President Vikram Kirloskar, all confirming the Prime Minister engaged, he was collaborative. The biggest headline you're getting is that from these 3 gentlemen who were part of that video conference connected with the PMO server, that this is a Prime Minister who in the days to come is going to be making announcements for the economy. I think that's the best news all stakeholders for the economy can get. We've all been waiting for it and asking, when will Narendra Modi act? When will he act? And I think that's about to come. Ajay Piramal, you raised such a fantastic point when it comes to pharmaceuticals. And since I have you and I want to lean in on your expertise, you talked about how facilities are running to capacity. At the same time, you're seeing panic. You are seeing hoarding. You are seeing citizens who are afraid. They don't know what's going to happen with the lockdown. They're hoarding medicines for the next couple of months, maybe. You're also seeing this news flow around the malaria drug that can perhaps help coronavirus. Donald Trump has tweeted about it. Will that production ramp up? I know a lot of people will want to know about that. They're trying to buy this drug. It's not available.
So I think the good news about the drug which is being talked, the malaria drug, the hydrochloroquine, is a drug which has been in the market for maybe 70 years. So people do know about it. People know how to manufacture it. So I think that the facilities are being ramped up, and you shouldn't find a shortage soon. Also, in the beginning, people are reacting and hoarding, but I would say that I don't think that this should be a major problem. And in the next few weeks, you'll see that there's enough available. I just hope we are seeing some positive news as far as the efficacy of this drug in treating of COVID-19 is concerned. Once it's fully confirmed, I think it will be a big deal as far as the world is concerned. The other good news is that there are many manufacturers and the price of this drug is very low. So it can be given to any and everybody.
Okay. Hang in there, Mr. Piramal. I want to take a question to Vikram Kirloskar. Mr. Kirloskar, with factories shutting down and, there's no choice. There is an absolute lockdown that is in place. You're not allowed to retrench employees. That's a promise that you've all made for 2 to 3 weeks. I get that point. But something that Donald Trump has shown, the US Treasury Secretary has shown, the India's chief economic advisors also talked about it. Are we going to see the government perhaps looking at direct benefit transfers? Is that pretty much a given? And all you need to figure out now is how much of a transfer, when it will be done. You've got JAM, the JAM Trinity that we've heard India talk so much about globally. Is it just the, literally the dotting of the I's and the crossing of the T's that is left for that to become a reality?
This was requested to the Prime Minister. We talked about it. My next CII colleague, Uday Kotak, talked very clearly about this direct benefit transfer. I don't think the Prime Minister or anyone made any commitment on it, but he certainly heard it out. And CII, along with Uday and myself, we all believe that this is one of the very good ones, good ideas that can give a lot of benefit to people at the bottom of the pyramid.
So what would be a fair direct benefit transfer? What would be a reasonable amount, according to you and CII?
Over 18 years of age and perhaps below the 5 lakh or some income rate, perhaps a 5,000 rupee, and people above 65 years, maybe 10,000 rupees. Somewhere in that range is what was suggested.
I mean, okay, 5,000 rupees a month.
Well, right now, first is at least a starting of 5,000. See, just the 5,000 and 10,000 below, now we'll have to figure out how much we can afford. Below 5 lakhs income, because that's the tax level, according to some back of envelope calculations, itself is 3 lakhs crores. So doing it one time itself is a tough situation. It's not easy.
Ajay Piramal, since I have you here with me, one of the questions I want to ask you, and I'm asking this from a lot of corporates, is they're looking at industrialists like you for business continuity. They're looking at industrialists like you to put work at home into a reality, to make it a seamless process. I'm going to ask both of you this. I'll begin with Ajay Piramal. Do you want to share with us what the last few days have been like? And is it going to be sustainable going forward? We don't know how long the lockdown is. The Maharashtra Chief Minister, for example, has announced a state-ban lockdown a few hours ago.
So we have started work from home from last week onwards, and so far it has been working. Till now, some skeleton staff was coming to the office, but I think from what I understand is from tomorrow there may be a curfew and there will be very, very limited people. But I think we've got now technology. It has been quite effective in the sense that we have been able to now provide computers to every one of our workforce, whoever are the white-collar people, and it has been quite efficient. Some issues like banking and all, how we will manage, sometimes you need a physical signature. These are some of the issues that may need to be tackled. So I guess the curfew will be relaxed for a few hours, and that's when we will be able to do it. But it was very important that we have this lockdown, otherwise we will not be able to contain it. And what I understand from the experts is that this week is the most critical for India. If we can flatten the curve in this week, we should be in a much stronger position going forward.
Ajay Piramal, that famous saying, a stitch in time saves 9. There's been all this fear that India has not been acting. Look at the US Federal Reserve, look at Donald Trump, look at the United Kingdom, look at Canada, look at Germany. But also we say better late than never, right? So having said that, once again, I'm going to ask you this question. You're confident that it's going to happen in the days to come. what is needed at most? What are some of the most important actions that this government can take along with the regulators?
So, first of all, I'm trying to be optimistic in a difficult environment and a challenging environment. So I believe that the government must be just waiting to see the impact which all the other economies of the world have done, and then take a measured response. That's what my hope is. So first of all, I think that what was discussed, if you take it from the Prime Minister's view of Vishwas between bank and the companies, one thing that we need to ensure is that the liquidity is available in the system. If that is not available, it will be very difficult for business to carry on, and especially the small and medium scale will suffer the most. And therefore, to ensure liquidity, one thing that the banks would have to do is and all the regulators, to provide a moratorium so that the payments which have been to be made to the bank, or when small-scale people don't pay us or don't pay to finance companies, they should not be looked upon as NPA and a defaulter. So I think a moratorium of 6 months for all payments is absolutely important. The second thing, in my view, is that we should open a special window. The RBI has done it in 2008, where a special window is opened up, where a special purpose vehicle could buy out CPs and non-convertible debentures of companies, of investment-grade companies, so that, again, there is liquidity available in the system. I think that is very important to do, to ensure liquidity in the system. That's the most important in my view. In addition to that, I think Vikram said it, we need to relax the fiscal deficit, according to me, and this time you should breach fiscal deficit. We need to go up to at least 5%. In 2008-9, when the crisis hit the U.S., the fiscal deficit, they breached it to 10%. So why have we got this? The third thing I think is that a lot of regulators need to relax. Now, I'm just worried that our year has to end on 31st March. If everything is locked down, how can you do even the normal functions? So some relaxation to make it to 30th June would be the other thing that I would recommend. These are some of the big issues. There are a few others, but...
But Vikram Kirloskar, did you walk away thinking that maybe some of these statutory deadlines are going to be done away with? 31st March is year end. How can people do this? CA offices are shut. Do we really want people out on the roads doing it? You've got income tax returns. Yes, they should have done it by now, but the fact is they have time till 31st March. You've got property taxes that need to be filed as well. Did you get any assurance from the Prime Minister that, that will be suspended? There was fake news today, for example, on how the GST return deadline was going to be changed. It's been clarified by the Finance Ministry that is indeed fake news.
No, okay. You made another comment. I just want to answer one of your earlier comments that when you spoke with Ajay, that we have not prepared enough. I'll tell you maybe I've said this on your show before or some other show. On 4th of March, I was supposed to have a Japanese visitor in my office. And he was sent away from the airport, Bangalore airport, back to Tokyo on 4th of March because he had been to China on 15th of February. So I think there was someone obviously working in the system watching this. And I think that's why some of our numbers are little better than others. I think the government did start working early in the system. Otherwise, that guy wouldn't have been sent back. That's for sure. On that day. Second, we've closed all our factories, all my factories. We've closed them today, all whatever I have here, and we've done that more out of I think we have taken a lot of adequate, I think very good care on the health side while operating them last week. But we thought it's the right thing to shut right now because we have to be part of the system where the whole country comes to a close except for essential medicines and essential services and essential food and things like that. Also, there is some confusion here. We are getting some messages from the government saying, please keep it open with half the number of people. Offices is very easy. Offices are already are working from home. But actual manufacturing is, if you say work with 50% of the people and things, it's still quite difficult how to do it. So we are figuring it out, but right now we have just shut down. We think it's a safer thing to do right now. Regarding the other things on the regulations, I think everyone made a point of the regulation issue, what Ajay said to the Prime Minister. He heard it out very carefully. I think people in the government also understand that if you say, finish your accounts by 31st March and there are no chartered accountants around, all the firms are away from their offices, how will you do it? A lot of the returns can't be filed. So I'm sure some guidelines will come out on this.
Okay, so I think the three people I've interviewed who were part of that video conference have certainly walked away very, very optimistic, convinced that we are going to see some measures for the economy. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, can I say thank you very much and thanks for inviting me on.
Yes, you can. In fact, that's my cue to wrap up as well. I'd like to thank both Vikram Kirloskar as well as Ajay Piramal for taking the time out and being so candid. There's the big message coming in. It doesn't get bigger than this, ladies and gentlemen. You have Ajay Piramal, Vikram Kirloskar, as well as Pawan Goenka attending a video conference with the Prime Minister, with other industrialists, walking away from there, coming on ET now, convinced that it is a matter of a day or two before you see some kind of a stimulus package for the economy. They're also convinced it's not going to be some small type stuff for one sector or two. It's going to be something well thought out. It's perhaps going to be a big one. We're, of course, on standby for it, but we haven't taken a break in a very, very long time. So we're going to take a break. We're going to wrap up this edition of News Now. Many thanks for tuning into this special broadcast. And after the commercial break, so we'll be back in time for Wall Street to open. It was down, the futures were down 6%. It's now trading lower by about 2%. So you're going to be seeing a big upswing, maybe thanks to the big measures that have been announced by the US Federal Reserve. All of that and coming up after this short break.